What's up, everybody? It's Grim, and you're watching Thrash Maniac 99 Wrestling, Gaming, and Metal videos. Hit the real intro.
Hello, everybody watching on YouTube, and welcome to the 6th episode of the Horsemen Podcast, and this is the year-end episode where this week we are giving out our top 10, plus honorable mentions, favorite albums of the calendar year of 2018, but as of course, I'm not alone. Of course, yours truly, Thrash Maniac 99, is here, the moderator of this show pretty much now. And joining me, we've got the three usuals. First, we've got the Mr. Insanity, Artur Felipe Castana. Next up, we got the everyone's favorite black metal girl. Please welcome the lovely Hannah Klein.
Good evening, or good day, or wherever you are.
And finally, I have officially given him the nickname The Lagger. Please welcome Ricky, a.k.a. Horror Master.
Yeah, we did it. End of the year.
Ricky McDonald.
Yeah, blame McDonald's. But however, we were talking about before the show started, if he was trying to do it at his house, he probably wouldn't be here at all because it would be way worse over at his house.
That's true.
So there's that.
Hey, even the best shows have been angry to relax.
I mean, stranger things happen. But without further ado, great, you made me laugh there. But without further ado, yeah, this week we are doing our 10 favorite albums of 2018. Now, full-on confession with me, I didn't listen to too much this year because I was mostly throughout the year listening to old bands' albums from like way back then, bands like Asphyx, Broken Hope. So I've been so caught up in the past I've not paid attention much until over the course of the last few weeks I've been listening to some albums I hadn't yet, and boy was I blown away by quite a few of them that actually made the list. But I have committed my...
That was another good year.
Yeah.
And I officially am stating this right now, for those who haven't heard, whether it be in my 5 questions show or whatever, 2019, my review show is coming back in full swing. I'm going to try and do better at reviewing albums, listening to more, and we're going to be off to the races starting early January. And the first album I'm going to be checking out, Legion of the Damned, which should be really fun because they're a thrash death metal band, and that's my forte. So that will be fun. We'll be talking...
Another band that Martin Ventura was part of.
Yep. But we'll be talking more about what we're looking forward to in 2019 once we get done with this list. But before we get to our actual lists, as always, honorable mentions! Yay! I'll get started on this. I only got 3 honorable mentions on my list. First, I've got Terrorizer Caustic Attack. While I personally liked Hordes of Zombies a little bit more, even though vocally it may not have been the best death grind album, I do think vocally this album was better. Musically, there were quite a few good songs on here. Plus, you had Lee Harrison from Monstrosity playing guitar, and he's usually the drummer type of guy. Pete the Feet still kicking it, and Sam Molina's vocals, not bad, even though I kind of like my grindcore death metal vocals a little bit lower.
I saw them live. I saw them live here in Lisbon, opening up for Nile this year. It was an awesome show. It was a good show.
Yeah. Well, like I even said in the last episode of my Mosh Pit review show, I kind of thought a couple of the songs that had that B-flat guitar tuning just didn't quite work, but everything else was awesome about this album. Next up, I got into this album thanks to Mr. Bradley Zorgdragger, because we actually chatted about this back in February, and that is Genocide Pack's Order of Torment. I was really impressed when I heard this album, And I got into it thanks to Bradley and his review of it on Banger. And pretty much brutal death doom. That's all I'm going to say. It's good stuff. And then finally, I got Obscura's Delivium. I love Obscura, but I don't think this was their best album. Doesn't mean it's bad by any stretch of the means. It was a great album. I just like my Obscura from Omnivium back. That's kind of always been how I like Obscura, particularly Omnivium. I love that album. I actually have that over there on the shelf somewhere that I probably need to get a replacement case for because I bet it broke. Because then again, jewel cases, if you don't take the shrink wrap out of it correctly, you're going to end up breaking part of the jewel case, and I hate when that happens. I need to get so many replacements, it's not even funny. But Obscura Delivium, final honorable mention. Now let's get to the rest of the honorable mentions, and we're going to start off with Ricky.
Okay. I have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 honorable mentions. First one, Greta Van Fleet, Anthem of Peaceful. One of the new...
And the lagging already begins. God. I don't call him the lagger for nothing, people. There he is.
Next up, Shinedown, Attention. Now, the hate that Shinedown gets, I get it. But I saw him live this year, so, it was a good show. Next up, Avatar Country. This, to me, I think, is probably the weakest album of the discography. Still a great album. Now, next, this is an EP by Almond, Alive. An EP, in my honorable mentions.
Yeah, nothing wrong with putting EPs on lists. Hell, I remember when I did my 2016 list, I had Gorgut's Pallades Dust in the top 10.
And my last honorable mention, Yob, Our Raw Heart.
I need to get into Yob more. I really do.
Me too.
All right.
Yeah,
and he's lagging again.
Again.
It's bound to be expected, but all right, Hannah, your honorable mentions.
Before I start with my honorable mention, I have to state that 2018 was an awesome year for music for me. There were so many great records. It was so hard to come up with a top 20, or there were so many records I wanted to put on this list. So I've got 5 honorable mentions, but before that, I've got a few shout-outs to some amazing bands. I'm only naming them. So this year, Amorphous, Bloodbath, Carpenter Brot, Necrocraft, Shining, and Ride, and Wolfhouse all released awesome records, but sadly they didn't make it into my honorable mentions or my top 10. And there was one band. And there was one band that was really close. That was Course. They released an awesome EP, but it was only an EP, so it didn't make it as well. Yeah, and now to my honorable mentions. The first one is Dornenvögel by Karg, which is an Austrian black metal band. And I love the Austrian black metal scene at the moment. So vibrant, so many amazing bands. And this record is melodic, it's dark, and they sing in an Austrian German accent, which is pretty awesome. Great band, great album if you love black metal.
Something like
No, not really. It's they kind of have their own style, like Harakiri for the Sky or Elende. It's very post-black metalish, if you'd say it like that. Typical for the Austrian scene. But I think you have to know them to know what I'm talking about. So sorry. Right. And then my second honorable mention is The History of Death and Burial Rituals Part 2 by Death Karma, which is a blackened death metal band from I think Slovenia or Czech Republic, and it was released only a few weeks ago. I think if it would have been released a bit earlier, it would probably be in my top 10. But it's a bit like Migwa meets Behemoth meets Vader, and they sing about different burial traditions all around the world. Great melodies in the music. I really dig that record. It's in my car all of the time and on full volume. Love to blast it when I'm driving through the rural countryside of Germany. And then the third honorable mention is the new Oceans record. I'm not that big of a prog metal fan, but this year with Between the Buried and Me with and the Ocean and also Coheed and Cambria was a very good year for this style of music, and I love I didn't dig the Ocean that much before, but this record is very solid and I like it. And then the fourth honorable mention I discovered thanks to Sarah from Banger. It's Dautha, Dautha's Brethren of the Black Soil, which is like Candlemass but more epic with some choirs and stuff like that. Only started to listen to it once the Banger video came out, and I must say it's a great record, but I only wish I would have known it for a longer time. And then the last honorable mention I only discovered 4 days ago is Sunset Forsaken, Chameleon Waters, which is also a Death Doom record from the Ukraine, and it's a very solid, very cohesive record. I've listened to it like 6 times now, and it gets getting better and better the more I listen to it. And it's a great record. It's just a shame that it wasn't released earlier. And that are my honorable mentions. Sorry for the long list.
That's cool. We like our lists.
Yeah.
All right, Artur.
Well, it has been a great year. I can say that. Although I don't know why I always do this times, but I'll just give a shout out. But I did memoriam shout out to of the people that we lost this year. We already made our Stanley, but Ralph Santola, we lost Vinnie Paul from Pantera. Both of the Abbott brothers are now doing a show right there in Valhalla. What? Jill Janus from Huntress, and so many others. But that's life, and life has to go on. But
Brett Hoffman.
My top 5. I'll just give a quick shout out to some bands, especially local bands here in Portugal. We'll give the 5 that done some great albums this year. A band called Sinistro, Portuguese Doom. If you haven't heard, they're a part of Season of Mist catalog. So if you want to try, listen to Sinistro. Young Carnage, one of the younger bands, death metal. I just found them out. They were good. Gradient put on a very good album as well. But my honorable mention, there are 5. At the Gates, To Sleep the Night. Yeah, it wasn't at war with reality, but come on. There are at least some bands that always establish the benchmark, and it's very hard to overcome it.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, Behemoth. But To Sleep Through the Night Within, I mean, it's not a bad album, but it's one of the better ones from At the Gates.
Yeah.
Another honorable mention, and this is a band that I didn't get much listen to in the early parts, Tribulation, Down Below. I was always into the more melodeath style, but Tribulation always flew by the radar, but I'm not going to skip them over. I mean, Down Below is a very good album. So, Tribulation, Down Below. You might not like me for this next one, but while I did not listen to Yob, Panopticon, and all those other bands, especially some of the metalcore shit that we're passing out at Banger, like Architects, Rivers of Nile, and all that other parts. Camelot's Shadow Theory. I mean, it's just another very good Camelot album. Tommy Kaverick is really settling in as the vocalist in the replacement of Roy Khan, and I think that Shadow Theory is another very solid and very good album.
It's a lot of albums out there.
Yeah, Unsung Prophets and Dead Messiahs by Orphan of Lands. I mean, I will always put All Is One as the best album that they ever made so far. Maybe Mabol, but All Is One is a close second. But Unsung Prophets is another very good album by Orphan of Lands. And the last one, I was tempted to put Powerwolf, Sacrament of Sin, but I'll just put it's an honorable mention. So, Sacrament of Sin. It's Powerwolf. You always know what you're going to get with it.
Alrighty, and now time for the actual 10. Oh boy, and I will start it off at number 10. I just listened to this album yesterday, and I feel stupid for not checking it out earlier. And again, because of Bradley, it's like me and him, and I mentioned it on our Facebook chat. We've become really good friends on Facebook, so I talk to him all the time. And I always keep hearing him mention this band, and I thought to myself, if they got an album out that came out this year, I'll check it out. And sure enough, it's their debut, Outer Heavens, Realms of Eternal Decay. This came out of nowhere for me, because it's an album that flows nicely, and it's only a 33-minute album, so it's not very long. Basically, it's death metal with some doom and hardcore elements. It's like at times it reminds me of Asphyx, sometimes it reminds me of Autopsy, but then other times it'll remind me of old hardcore bands like Agnostic Front or Discharge. But it's still mostly just a straight-up death metal album with elements of doom and hardcore throughout. And it's crazy, this is their debut, and already they got high praise from me, and I can't wait to hear what they got coming up next. Hannah, you're number 10. The perfect 10.
Yeah, since I couldn't choose which album to kick out of my list, I've got two legends on my number 10. First one is...
Oh
boy. Thank God.
Alright, you're back now.
Sorry, the website keeps crashing here. So I've on my two albums on my number 10. The first one is by In the Woods, called Seize the Day, which is their second record since their return. And it's a proper continuation of Pure, which they released a couple of years ago. It's blackish, it's proggy, it's a bit of death metal. It's the perfect mix, something of their own, and I really love this record. Great record if you are into the more experimental sides of black metal. And the second one is Primordial's Exile Amongst the Ruins.
Here we go.
The thing with Primordial is it's a great record. I was at the release show in Cologne, and it was a fucking amazing show, and I love so many tracks of this record, but in comparison to other records, it fell a bit short. I mean, it's great, but I didn't listen to it as much as I listened to Where Greater Men Have Fallen or To the Nameless Dead. I think these two ones are my favorite Primordial records, but this one is still great. But I'm very sorry I couldn't put it higher on the list, but I mean, there was so much great music that came out this year. But at least it made it on the list.
I don't blame you. I also have Primordial on my list, but it's not now.
Yep, sorry. But it's a great record. And I wish I could put it higher, but I can't.
There are 9 other ones.
Oh yeah.
Even more.
We'll have many more albums in common, I'm sure of it.
Alright, while Ricky gives his pick, I will be right back. I gotta get something down from downstairs. So, Ricky, go ahead with your number 10.
Go ahead, Ricky, your 10. I don't think he's listening.
I don't think. Maybe he can't listen.
Yeah, I listen. I came back.
And now he's disappeared again.
My number 10. It's the ocean. I don't even want to mention Phanerozoic one.
What about your number 10?
Artur, you mentioned it. Something around there.
You already mentioned the ocean? Then it's my number 10. And Hannah, you were talking so much about Austria that I was going. Is she going to mention them? But I don't think she is. But you didn't. Summonings. With Doom we come. I mean,
yep.
It came out in the early in the year, and it's been what 5 years? And I'm looking back. 5 years since Old Morning's Dawn.
Yep.
I just go, whoa. And as much as Summoning is shitted upon because they're more atmospheric than anything else, I mean...
But there's nothing wrong about that.
No, but
at least in my opinion.
And I saw a YouTuber or a channel called the Downfall Network, and he did a retrospective of Summoning, and he just shitted on the entire, and I'm going, dude, if you don't have anything good to say about them, then don't say it all. You only liked Stronghold, but then again, everyone loves Stronghold. Don't get me wrong; it's a great work, but my number 10, and although the only part wrong with Doom We Come is Protector's voice. It wasn't as crisp as it was before. So my number 10 from early this year, back in January, I think. Summonings, With Doom We Come.
Yeah, I was thinking about that one, but there was so much great music this year. I really liked the Summoning record, but in comparison to the other stuff I listened to, it fell a bit short. I love it, but I mean, it's the same with Shining. I think both of them came out on the same. Yeah, I think it came out very early in January, but somehow neither of them made the list.
But like I said, many of them I did not listen to Yob, I did not listen to Panopticon, I did not listen to some of the other bands, not to mention that metalcore shit of the Architects' Daughters and such.
I mean, you can't listen to everything.
Yeah.
You can't.
Number 10,
cannot.
With Doom We Come, Summoning.
What was Ricky's number 10, since I missed it?
He was lagging.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, no. It was the ocean.
Oh. Well,
again, that over to me, it's the closest thing I'm gonna get a Tool at the moment. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you're going to get Tool next year, so quit whining.
We're hoping, unless they troll us again.
But at least you have more chance of getting a next Tool album than we have Half-Life 3.
Yep.
Or like us the
Yeah. Alright, so now we get to our number 9s, and Artur, since you're in a crazy mood right now, I'll let you kick it off.
Han already said it. Exile Amongst the Ruins by Primordial. I mean, it's Primordial. I can't talk about it but Exile Among the Ruins was a great album. Some of my favorite songs are actually some of the first ones, like Where Lie the Gods. I kind of did not enrail too much with To Hell with the Hangman.
I love that song.
But after listening it on a live setting, I kind of got attached to it. So it may not be the best list, but then again, like I said, not many bands can outperform their best albums, but Primordial's Exile Amongst the Ruins, another collection of Celtic metal, blackish folk metal, and there it is. Number 9, Exile Amongst the Ruins.
I need to get into Primordial more now.
You
So there you
have to.
go.
You have to.
I've seen
that's
interviews
dark.
with the singer, and he cracks me up every time I see him.
Yeah. He's a cool guy.
He is amazing on stage.
All right, my number 9 is Horrendous Idol. Got into that thanks to when Banger did their What They Missed in 2018 video. And as soon as I heard them say if you like Death, Cynic, or Gorguts, you would like it. And guess what? I like all three of those bands, and I love this album. Yeah, it's like prog death metal, but with more old school death metal leanings, while vocally it's a little more in like the mid-range. It still worked for me, and also the album cover looks really cool as well, and I look forward to hearing what this band has coming up next. And if they keep going the way that I heard on this album, then they're going to get a new follower in me. So, there you go. Horrendous Idol, my number 9. Hannah, your number 9.
My number 9 is Wayfarer's World's Blood. Wayfarer are an American black metal band from Denver, Colorado. And this is their third record. And I have a very similar record again on this list popping up, but what I really like about this band is that they kind of mix in this American country of folk kind of thing into their music.
And her site crashed again. And now she's back.
What I really love about the sound of this record is that it kind of feels like you're riding through dusty the Great Plains on a very dusty, barren day, and you can really hear that in the music. It's very atmospheric. It's great record, and I can highly recommend that to anyone who says that American black metal might be inferior to European black metal, because it's catching up at the moment, and this record is proof to that.
Yeah, and if there's ever a place in America that would be fitting to have a black metal band, it's Denver, Colorado.
Yeah,
so there you go.
And the thing is, look at the cover of this record, and if you're looking at the cover, that's how the music feels like.
I'll have to check that out too.
The cover art is pretty amazing.
All right, Ricky, you're number 9. Hopefully you don't lag this time.
My number 9 is Stone Temple Pilots.
Oh, I can't hear him again.
The record that came out this year.
Old STP,
Which one?
huh? He said Stone Temple Pilots, their new album.
Ah, okay.
I forgot what the title was.
Yeah, I mean, although it's not the Star Wild, this new singer can sing almost the same as Star Wild. I'll give him credit for that. Besides this, I saw him live this year, and he's Star Wild 2.0, but there will never be another Star Wild. But this album to me feels like it's gospel.
He's stuck like.
But I gotta give him credit for trying. I gotta give Stone Temple Pilots credit for trying. They're getting a new singer, creating this album, which at the beginning I gave it a 3 out of 5 rating, and I still stand by it. But yeah, Stone Temple Pilots, my number 9.
All right, Artur, you're number 9.
Already said it.
Oh yeah, I'm stupid. Sorry. All right,
okay.
So we got our number 9s in. Now we get into number 8, and I will let Hannah start this one off.
Again, it's about black metal on my number 8, but this band has released 2 records this year, and both are awesome. I'm talking about Unrequited from Canada, and in the beginning of the year, they released a record called Stars Wept to the Sea, which I love. It's very atmospheric, it's very melodic, very dreamy. And then couple of months ago, they released another record called Mosaic 1, L'amour et la douleur. I can't speak French, sorry. And it's a continuation of the first record, and both are amazing. I think Stars Wept to the Sea is maybe a bit better, but I love them both. And if you love atmospheric black metal, this one is perfect for you. Yeah.
All right, Ricky, you're number 8. If he doesn't lag anymore.
My number 8 is a new band, and it's Brand of Jewel Forward. Now this band is from New York, and they're a bit into the alternative side. If you're combining Alice in Chains with Brigham Benjamin and some Simple Pilots, has that kind of group. For it to be there,
and he just pooped.
But he's back.
I know, but we've gotten used to it.
I see a bright future in these guys. That's all I'm saying. Number 8, Brand of Jewel Forward.
I'll have to check that out because you say it's a combination of Alice in Chains, Breaking Benjamin, STP, and I like all those bands, so sounds like it'd be fitting for me. Artur, you're number 8.
Possibly one of my 2 controversial addings here, but number 8, The Beloved Antichrist by Therion. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of rock operas and symphonic styles and stuff. And when I heard that Therion was going to do 3 records, all dedicated to that story, the Beloved Antichrist story, and it has been 6 years since that god-awful Le Fleuve de Mal from 2012, and when they released it, it was brilliant. It was an entire rock opera. Christopher Johansson's guitar, even though his back is killing him, and I saw them live, it's still great. If you're into the rock opera aspect, Therion's Beloved Antichrist, which was released in February this year, is your route. Number 8, The Beloved Antichrist by Therion.
I was going to say, apologize to people who are watching this on the live premiere stream, which, by the way, hi, future viewers. I'm breaking the fourth wall.
Nothing that WWE didn't do before.
Alright, but my number 8, Hannah's probably going to love me even more for this, but my number 8, Immortal Northern Chaos Gods.
Here we go! What's that? Let me see. They just made the list!
But yeah, Northern Chaos Gods, this is their first album in 9 years, even though no Abath, which I wish he was still in the band, but I guess with Demon Oz coming back on guitar and doing the vocals, and Horg still on drums, and Peter Tägtgren on bass, it was still a great album. Even though I feel vocally, if Abath was there, I thought it could have been even higher. But it doesn't mean that Demon Oz is a bad vocalist by any stretch of the means. I do think he's inferior to Abath. But still a fucking phenomenal album. And after all, Immortal is one of the all-time greats in black metal or extreme metal in general. So, hail to the Northern Chaos Gods.
It almost made my list.
Spoiler, it didn't make my list.
Oh boy.
The thing is, with this record, I love Abath and I love Demona's solo work, but for some reason I didn't dig this one. Don't know why. I just prefer Demona's released a solo record a few years ago, and I prefer that over the new Immortal.
I disagree, but
By miles.
For me, they're kind of equal, but that's just me. All right, and now number 7, and I shall kick this one off at my number 7. One of my all-time favorite bands put out an album this year. Now, earlier in the year, I said that this was their worst album they've ever put out. However, this is still a great album. Rainier Fog, Alice in Chains.
Oh.
I really like this album, even though, like I said, and I still feel it's the inferior of their catalog. But they're a band that has never put out a bad album, and this is an example of not being a bad album. It's a great album, don't get me wrong. I just prefer the rest of their catalog over it. However, the one I still love jamming that song and singing along to it, and that's reason enough for me to put on this list. There are other great songs on here too, like the title track, So Far Under, and even the closing track, which I can't quite remember the name of it off the top of my head, because it's been a little bit since I've listened to anything off the album, but still, Rainier Fog, my number 7. Ricky, if he even heard me, he's just...
Don't make so. He's just doing Egyptian poses.
And I can't even see him.
Alright, I guess while we wait for Rick... Yeah, well, there he goes. Artur, you're number 7, then.
Some can call this a bit controversial too, but this is from a band with who arguably that they have a very best album. We talked about this when we talked about underrated bands, and they released an album this year, Saxon's Thunderbolt. I mean, it's Saxon. I mean, if you want consistent discographies, especially over these recent years, Saxon is the way to go. I mean, you have some great songs like Sons of... Okay, a bit Viking, but Sons of Odin. They played rock and roll. Arguably one of my favorites in the album, which has a bit of a gloomy influence, which I never thought that Biff Bifford would do. Something like that, which is called Nosferatu, the Vampire's Waltz. But it may be controversial because I know some people that did not like this album very much, and it's still another Andy Snee production. Spoiler alert, there's another one this year on my top 10.
And I know exactly what it is, too.
I know.
And spoiler alert, it's on my list, too.
But in any case, number 7, Thunderbolt, Saxon.
Alright, Hannah, you're number 7.
I think I'm already spoilering that one a bit because I'm wearing a t-shirt, hoodie.
Oh, here we go.
The thing is with Behemoth, I loved you at your darkest is they arguably have the catchiest song of the year on that with
Barzabel.
Yep.
Barzabel.
I love that song.
And I love that record. I think it's a great follow-up to The Satanist. But it just isn't quite there. I think The Satanist...
First off, I don't even question to which one of us. Were we expecting something to overcome The Satanist? I sure as hell wasn't.
Nah.
No, me neither. I think it's highly unlikely that they will ever put something as amazing as The Satanist.
Exactly.
But I think they could. But I think it's very unlikely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but I'm just optimistic when it comes to that. And I think it's a great record. It's just isn't quite there. I mean, I was listening to The Satanist non-stop ever since it came out. It's still on heavy rotation and everything, and this one, it's a good record. And I like the direction it is taking. It just isn't nearly as good as The Satanist. Still a great record.
Yeah. And spoiler alert. Yeah, and spoiler alert, it's on my list too. So you'll know where it's going to be when we get to it. But Ricky, you're number 7.
Number 7, Powerwolf, The Sacrament of Sin. Now, this album to me, with another album that is going to be higher on the list, they kind of are the same in the terms of, I guess, the theme. Because Artur was the one who introduced me to Powerwolf, so thank you for that. And this album's so good. I mean, it's power metal. It's has good songs. I just wish that it was a bit shorter. The album was a bit shorter. Overall, good album.
Alrighty. A lot of love for Powerwolf on this one, so I should definitely give them a shot too. God, I got so many bands now on my head that I need to check out now, but it's going to be tough for me to remember. But now we get to the number of the beast, number 6. And
Six.
and I shall kick this one off too. Number 6, I got... now, this is a band that I heard their last 2 albums. And both times when I did my year-end list, they made it. They made the cut. This year, this, in my opinion, may be their best album I've heard. Revocation, The Outer Ones. I mean, ever since I heard their 2014 album, Deathless, I thought to myself, this band's got a lot of potential to really shoot up there as being a forerunner in the world of extreme metal. And then I heard Great Is Our Sin. 2 songs from that album stick out to me still. The song Communion, because of how fast it was, and their cover of Altar of Sacrifice by Slayer. And it was a solid cover. But then they go even more out of hand, which to me was the best attribute of this album, and they just go even crazier with the death metal end of the scale, while still retaining their thrash and technical and prog influences. And I like those jazz breaks on a couple of tracks that I thought added a nice touch. So, for me, number 6, The Outer Ones by Revocation. Can't wait for their next album, because it may, if it's good or if it's better than this, it could be number 1 for me on a list in the future. Because I think Revocation, as far as the American extreme metal scene, they're starting to get up there, if you ask me. So, Revocation, Outer Ones. Ricky, you're number 6. Ricky?
Oh. Number 6 is a band that Hannah and I know very well. It's the first of 2 black metal albums on my list. Portland's own Uwada, Cult of a Dying Sun. Now, I wish that Banger put this on their list, but it didn't. But to the
Which
people,
one?
But to the people who say that
Uwada.
American black metal. To the people who
Because
say
I can't
black
hear
metal
him.
in America.
Okay.
I know, it could be a pain, but, yeah. So, yeah, we got his number 6 because he's now lagging. Yeah, he picked the Uwada record. And I hear other stuff going off. Damn it, Kamikaze, why you have to upload and put your notifications in the middle of the video? Oh, well, I'm leaving it in for comedy purposes. I don't care. Kamikaze getting his love in this time.
At least it's not the phone.
Yeah, at least it's not my phone going off. I got that on vibrate. So, we got mine and Ricky's number 6. We'll go to Artur for his number 6.
Kind of Hannah will attest to it, because we talked about it a bit last week when we were at the Banger show. But it's probably the first of 2, maybe 3 black metal releases this year. Watain, Trident, Wolf, Eclipse. I mean, it's still Watain. The raw black metal part, although it has a bit of death in it, it's awesome. Nuclear Alchemy, Furor Diabolicals, and even The Fire of Power, they're great songs. I mean, we know, and I talked with Anna about this when we were at the chat. Nothing will beat the Lawless Darkness. Nothing.
That's true.
But still, this one, Trident Wolf Eclipse. It's the same thing as with Iliad. It's the same thing that we talked with Primordial. Nothing will beat a legendary record. But nevertheless, this year, Watain deserves a lot of praise. So number 6, Trident Wolf Eclipse.
And the songs are awesome live. They work really well live. I've seen them 3 times this year, so and they played them every time.
I rest my case.
Alright, and Hannah, you're number 6.
My number 6 is Yop, or Raw Heart. And what I really like about this records are the vocals. I mean, you can feel the pain that influenced this album throughout the vocal performance. It's flawlessly executed, simply amazing, and the musical arrangements are awesome. Very heavy, it's kind of slow at times, but still a tinge of aggression behind everything, and the title track is just amazing, even though it's like 15 minutes long or something like that. I'm not very familiar with the previous discography of Yop, but this one is amazing.
Again, I need to check out Yob. So many bands. There's just so many bands, it's hard to keep track.
That's true. That's true, same for me.
Alright, and now... Yeah, it really is. Especially for me, who's mostly been listening to, like, old albums that I never heard of. That was basically my 2018. But now to the cream of the crop, as the Macho Man says, our top 5.
Oh, God.
I shall let Artur start this one off.
Someone already spoiled a bit my number 5, and I'm pointing at Texas. It's Immortals, Northern Chaos Gods. I mean, we already knew that this ongoing battle between Abath, Daemonas, Hork, the remaining members of Immortal.
Yeah.
But once we heard that they were going to release an album under that, I thought, could they do without Abath what they did for this time? I can say, and sorry, Daniel Bryan. Yes. I mean, Daemonas, Hork, and the remaining members, which are the only 2 members of of Immortal, they produced another great Immortal record. I can put them in pair with maybe Sons of the Northern Darkness, or maybe with Sons of the Darkness. I cannot put it next to it. Full Moon Mysticism or Battles in the North, but this just proves one thing. I mean, Abath can do his stuff, which is great, but Daemonas, Hork, and once again mixed by the great Peter Taggerton from Hypocrisy. Immortal's current formation, they are trying to be Inquisition without being them, but nevertheless, number 5, Immortal Northern Chaos Gods.
Alright, my number 5 is another debut, and I want to take this opportunity to thank and also blame Papa Sam Dunn for this one, because now I want to get the T-shirt of this band because he has one. Carnation Chapel of Abhorrence. I mean, my God, and whenever I heard this album, after watching that review he did, and then listening to this album a couple times, and that was a loud chair screech.
Yeah.
But once I heard this album, I was blown away. I was blown away when I heard this album. It's like, yeah, they're a Belgian band, but yet they're another one of those bands trying to help revive that Swedish death metal sound, while vocally reminds me so much of Corpse Grinder from Cannibal Corpse, and to me that marriage of a Corpse Grinder style vocalist with a Swedish death metal sound to me worked perfectly for this album. Plus, Disciples of Bloodlust, probably one of my top 5 favorite songs of 2018, because that song has some catchy riffs and some great vocal elements to it. So, yeah, Carnation Chapel of Abhorrence, number 5. Hannah, you're number 5.
My number 5 is a band I already talked about in previous episodes. It's a Hungarian band called Die Kasaflake. You're they're not very known, but I really like their latest record, Geometria, which is this weird mix of progressive metal, black metal, and Hungarian folk music. And I think so far it's, at least for me, it's their best one. And it's very weird, but very catchy. And I get in a very good mood when I listen to it, and I can't get enough of them. If you like weird stuff, you will like this.
All right, Ricky, you're number 5.
My number 5, I found it by accident in a YouTube ad while watching another band. So it was an ad, a band in an ad. If you like glam, power metal, speed metal, thrash metal, and gothic metal, then I got the band for you. Straight out of Los Angeles, Salem Slot with their debut album, Mask of Morality. If you take the good things of Polycrew and the good things of Wasp, you get Salem Slot. And they are big influenced by the Japanese culture. Because if you look at them, I thought they were Japanese, but they're from LA. But this album is great. I mean, like I said, speed, thrash, gothic, perfect balance. If there wasn't a debut album that I would recommend, it would be Salem Slot, Mask of Morality. Even the cover, I mean, yeah, both. I guess I don't know Japanese culture that much, but I guess both of the gods, the good and the bad one, with the masks. I don't know, something of Japanese culture. But like I said, check it out. Salem Slot, Mask of Morality.
Alrighty, and now number 4, and Ricky, I will let you start this one off.
Number 4, Bergen Benjamin, Ember.
I keep forgetting to check that album out. I really, and I hadn't even heard of their 2015 album yet.
There are bands that don't change your sound. This is about one of that. They don't have to change your sound. They have been doing the same thing, formula for years, and it just gets better and better and better every time they do an album. I mean, in my opinion, Bergen Benjamin is one of those bands that has influenced a lot of modern day bands. So yeah, number 4, Ember, Bergen Benjamin.
All right, Artur, your number 4.
This album and this band might flies so low amongst many people's radar. It flew under mine, but as soon as I heard, I had to try it. And again, I go back to an Irish connection. It's Cruachan's 9 Years of Blood. For those that don't know, Cruachan can be related as one of the founders of folk metal alongside Primordial, Skyclad, and those. But what many people don't know is the fact that these guys were a bit up and down. They use a lot of bazukis, mandolins, bodars, a lot of original folk instrumentation, and they only released 8 albums. Primordial, they don't do this full time, and they released a lot more than Cruachan ever did. But still, 9 Years of Blood. And then 4 years since their last album, which was Horn's favorite album, Blood for the Blood Gods. I wonder why. If you don't know that reference, play Warhammer. But it's fantastic. It's pure folk metal. It has also that dark ambience to it, which can be said that either these guys influenced Primordial or vice versa. But 9 Years of Blood by Cruachan is my number 4.
All right, Hannah, you're number 4.
I actually got 2 albums on my number 4, one of which Ricky already talked about. It's Uada's Cult of a Dying Sun. And I really can't wait to see these guys next year. So I'm not it's just a great record, and I'm not going to talk more about it. And the second record on my number 4 is pretty similar to that, and it's Skeleton Witch, Devouring Radiant Light. And the thing with Skeleton Witches, I just can't get into their previous albums. I don't know why, but this one, when they changed the vocalist, is far more accessible to me. It's very melodic. It's more black metal than it is thrash metal, and it's very catchy. And especially the first and the last song on this record, it's very cohesive. So if you listen to it once, you will listen to it again. And the more you listen to it, the better it gets. And I think if Skeleton Witch will continue like this, they will be up to great things.
And it's crazy to think Skeleton Witch, one of the few bands from my state of Ohio, from Athens, which is only like an hour and 15 minutes away from where I live.
You have to see them live.
Yes.
Okay, now my number 4. I can foresee the comments on this one. Either a lot of people are going to come in a love fest, or the real diehards are going to get pissed off at me. Either way, I can take it. And I know Hannah, I know her opinion about this, but I'm sorry. Number 4, Ghost prequel.
Screw you! Screw you! Die! Die!
Okay.
Get out of here!
No, I cannot continue.
Now she's gone.
Hannah, I'm sorry. I'm gonna probably. That's my number 3 request.
You have no idea about music.
Okay.
My most disappointing album of this year, Prequel.
Same here, together with the new Dimmu Borgir record, both highly disappointing.
Dimmu Borgir.
I did find Ionian as disappointing as Prequel. I actually found Ionian
It was a tinge better.
margin better than Prequel.
I agree, but then I saw Dimmu Borgir live, and they sucked live.
That's different. I like their studio. I love the tribal stuff and such, but
I was gonna say
what has this turned into now? What have I just started?
It's hate fest right now. This is hate fest. Hold bloody on. Screw Tobias Forge. Screw Ghost. Screw Cardinal Copia. Screw everyone.
I won't go that far. I won't go very far. I'll just state my most disappointing album.
That I get heated.
I agree.
So it's basically turned into a tag match at this point. Okay, well, hold on, Ricky. I haven't got to say my part, but like I said, I figured this was going to happen. I knew this was going to happen.
Yeah.
But I just gotta be honest with myself. Like, this was the first. Like, I had heard of Ghost songs prior.
Brainwashed by Tobias Forge. Agree to it. Now.
Anna, pull back.
Yep.
I'm shutting up now.
Okay, so my point, like, I had always heard of songs from Ghost, but I never heard a full album prior to this, because they were always a band that I kept seeing come up, and I heard quite a few of their songs, and I liked what I heard. So once I heard this album, granted, I'll agree, it's not completely metal, it's more of a hard rock lenient album.
It's shit.
But for me, I also love me some hard rock when I'm in that mood, and I liked what I heard.
Meliora.
I liked what I heard, plus I can't stop listening to Rats. It's just so annoyingly catchy, but that's not even my favorite song on the album
Tobias
either.
is a red, Tobias is a red, Tobias is a red.
The best song from that album, which is the one that I can still find some old Ghost in it, it's
Faith.
not Rat. The second, it's the after that. Faith.
Yeah.
Faith, yeah.
I was gonna say my personal favorite song on the album is actually Helveta Fonster, the instrumental track. I really liked that, and also you had Michael from Opeth doing some acoustic stuff on, which I thought was a nice touch. To me, it sounded like a song that could fit in like a dark movie soundtrack, and you didn't even have to have singing on it for it to be fun for me to get into. So, sorry to everyone who now hates me now, but I gotta go with my heart and go with my gut.
I don't. I just thought that it came out of left field.
However, I will say, just to appease people, none of the songs, in my opinion, off this album would top the song Series. Because that's my favorite of those songs, so nothing will top that, in my opinion.
Mine is Zenith.
Mine is in fact Concorde con Dio from the first one, but that's
amazing.
But aside from that, I don't get the whole Tobias thing, like, why is he still doing the costumes after all we know who he is? I wish he'd give that up, but...
To make more money.
Not only that, I preferred him with the Pope robes, kind of with the skull.
I totally agree with that.
The only reason he isn't doing that is because he's afraid of copyright infringement. That's the only reason. Because he doesn't have the rights to this character.
Okay, so... Alright, so
I'm
now
sorry for my criticism. I apologize with all of my heart. I'm very sorry.
It's alright, I know how you feel, but hey, like I said, I had to go with my heart, and I couldn't help it.
The thing is, this is a very emotional topic for me. I'm sorry.
I know. I seen the Facebook messages.
Yeah.
I don't care. I mean, each one of us is entitled to its own opinions.
Exactly,
like I said, we got a tag team, but probably won't have for other times.
So basically, Ricky said that's his number 3, and I pretty much said all there is to be said. I don't think he needs to hurt himself any further. So there's
some things that I need to say.
All right. Well, since we're now moving on to our number 3s, you go ahead and give your thoughts.
Okay.
There you go.
When I review Prequel, I give it a 5 out of 5. Hannah, that shit crazy, was burying me like crazy. We argued for like an hour on this record. And I'm gonna kick it up a notch. My favorite song is Dance Macabre.
What?
I mean, it isn't bad, but...
It's a catchy tune.
Okay.
Oh, and there goes Artur.
The lyrics are so bad.
I'm not finished.
Go ahead. Just go ahead.
This is not my favorite Ghost album. It's Meliora. It'll always be Meliora till the day I die. This is like the second best. Yes, I know I'm doing that against Poposapotamus. I guess I'm doing this in Sperato. I got even the EP. I know. Hate me. I don't care. And I even went as some Papa on Halloween. Remember when I showed you the photos of me painting myself?
Yeah.
So that's how much Ghost has become one of my favorite bands, like, of all time. In just a short of time. And I started listening to them when Meliora came out. That was my introduction to Ghost. Meliora. And the lawsuit thing happened last year, and we all kind of knew it was Tobias, but the mystique was still there.
Yeah.
I mean, I would still go see live. I've never seen Ghost live. I want to see them live one time.
I do too.
I mean, I know Hannah will probably...
Saw them twice already.
I know,
and it was still with that whole Pope gimmick.
I've seen them 5 times.
I know Hannah will probably be one of those protesters going, "Stop Ghost, we want Ghost back, the old Ghost."
Yeah.
Forces. Exactly. But if it was Ghost or Avantasia, who would it be?
Ooh.
You're mean.
Well then.
Don't go there.
I'm still waiting for that answer. Ghost or Avantasia? You can't choose either or.
Who I hate more, or?
No. If you had to go between a show, Ghost or Avantasia, who would it be?
I would go to Ghost.
End of story.
She's
Next,
cringing
next,
so much.
No,
Next.
I would buy tickets for something else.
No, I said only the two of them. Anyway, next.
I'll put-
next.
I'll
I'm
put
going to
Hannah-
church.
Next.
I'm going to church.
What have we done?
And I hate church.
What have
I'm
we
just staying out of this because I've already been bashed at. So
done? Okay, that's all I have to say. Who's next?
okay, all
I'm
right.
sorry.
Oh, one more thing. I'm ashamed that Banger didn't have Freakwood on the list.
Oh,
I'm not. I'm not.
Me too.
I'll be honest. I'm kind of not either because I get it. So there you go.
I'm more ashamed. I'm more ashamed that they did not mention many other albums, and I just don't think that they analyzed my number 3. I won't say that. Why not?
Good thing
Okay,
good thing I didn't have it on my number 1. That would have been crazy.
yeah, I think you would be exiled from the podcast as a result if you had a number 1. According to Hannah, at least in Hannah's case, if you had a number 1, you'd be banished for life.
She would say, she would
Play
block me
Swiss.
back.
I would send you to hell and back.
Oh,
I
my
don't
cheeks
care.
hurt. My cheeks hurt from laughing throughout this whole diatribe.
Like a.k.a. says, hell in a bad place to
Next
be.
time, put an alarm, like a nuclear alarm.
Oh God. Oh right. Anyways, before we get even crazier, let's get back to the rest.
My number 3 is even crazier.
Okay, go ahead. You're
Okay.
number 3.
Because I wasn't expecting this to be this high in the list, but the more often I redid my list, the higher it got over time. I'm kind of ashamed that it's on there, but I really love this record.
No, I think I know why it is.
And what do you guess?
No, I don't want to say it. Just say it. Say it.
Well, my number 3 is Deaf Heaven's Ordinary Corrupt Human Love. And
Never mind.
What did you think it was?
I'm not gonna say. I'll say later.
Okay.
now I want to know what you thought I would put there.
Anyway, go on.
No, the thing is, I know that Deaf Heaven gets a lot of hate, and
And I don't get why.
because so many
Gosh.
hipsters like them. And the thing is, I kind of don't get their previous records, but this one I really, really like because it got such a warm atmosphere and warm tone to it. And the more I listen to it, the more I like it. And it's
Artur's about to want to kill someone right now.
just kill
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Do it.
I think we've just started.
I'm just going. Why? Why?
I don't know. The first time I listened to it, I was like, "What?"
I'm not doing this because of the thing that Hannah said about the hipsters and stuff. I mean, I'm not judging Deaf Haven because all the Northeast Portland hipsters love them. It's because they are shit. I mean, I've listened to them and you're shit.
I agree with you to a certain point because I don't get their previous records, but this one, I don't know. It's just this kind of.
Here's a dispute. Here's a dispute that I would like gladly, and I know that Mercure also gets a lot of shit. I would much rather listen for a whole hour to any Mercure album than I would listen to Deaf Heaven.
Well, I disagree.
Yeah.
I would pick Deaf Heaven over Mercure.
Meanwhile, I have no dog in this battle, so there you go.
I have one which already can corrode the acid already on my feet. Nah, just kidding.
So this is how the Third World War starts.
Just mention Ghost and mention Deaf Heaven, and we're ready to go.
Nah. But
What have we become? What have we become as people?
I didn't know.
Then again, this is all my fault for even bringing up Ghost. What
Even
have I
if,
done?
even if it wasn't your fault, I was
I
gonna
think-
mention.
Well, then again.
I knew that you would put it. At least Ricky would put it on his list. So
I don't think she expected I'd put it on my list, but
I didn't expect
because you are so
much.
much into death metal, that's why I didn't
and
expect
thrash.
it to be there.
I'm a thrash and death metal
Yeah.
freak, but hey, I like catchy stuff. Look, I can't help myself. But
And I like weird stuff like death heaven at times.
I put summoning on my top 10. That shows how much I like weird stuff too.
all right, Artur, you're number 3.
Hannah's already dropping the name. It's Iliad. I mean, and it's funny because my numbers 3 and 4 have arguably my top 3 best songs of the year. Number 4, I said it was Kruachan with 9 Years of Blood, and their song Queen of War is fucking awesome. And now Behemoth also has one of my top 3 best songs. And just to piss off Ricky, it's not Barzabel. Although I love Barzabel, it's in fact the previous to that, Ecclesia Diabolica Catholica.
Yep. That's my second
Which
favorite.
is so strong. It's fast. It's strong. It feels like I'm listening to maybe what's at the I won't say Eschaton, but it's a bit of a faster version of Eschaton. But Iliad, we already knew what was to become. It was going to be another experimentation album. It was going to be a follow-up to The Satanist, although we already knew it's impossible to surpass perfection in The Satanist. Right. So, my number 3 is Behemoth Iliad. I love you at your darkest.
All right, my number 3. Well, Artur said it. Hannah said it. Behemoth, I loved you at your darkest is my number 3.
Peace offering.
Yeah, I mean, what else can be said about this album that hasn't been said on the show already? I'll just say my piece. Yes, it's not close to The Satanist, but it's still a phenomenal album. Barzabel, catchy tune, still like chanting that whenever I'm in the mood, and other great songs. So, yeah, what else can be said at this point? So let's just move on. Top 2! Two. And I shall kick this one off. Number 2 for me. Artur preluded to this. Judas Priest Firepower is my number 2 album. I mean, Priest. I mean, despite what I may have said in one of the previous episodes when we were talking overrated, underrated, even though I put them number 1 in overrated, it doesn't change the fact that I love Judas Priest. And this album, I mean, definitely their best one. I would say since Painkiller for sure. I mean, Lightning Strike, probably my favorite song as far as the singles. But if you want to go for the more, and there you go, bringing out the disc, which I need to get at some point. But nonetheless, but my personal favorite song that wasn't a single was that what they started with Hellion Electric Eye when they did the same thing here with Guardians and Rising from Ruins. I love those two songs.
My number 1 best song of the year, Guardians and Rising from Ruins. Even live, it's awesome. But I'll say my piece later.
Yeah, so my number 2, Firepower, Judas Priest. Artur, your number deuce.
My number 2. It's also one that has been mentioned here already, but I just listened to them and I still listen to them quite a lot. From Finland, Amorphous, Queen of Time. I mean, Amorphous is another very consistent band. If you like more bands in the dark tranquility spectrum, I'm not saying Amon Amarth because Amon Amarth are faster and more raunchier than Amorphous.
Yeah.
But if you like that more atmospheric, folky type or folkish, animated part of the mellow death genre, then Amorphous is your stuff. And another band that has been consistent throughout, although their best work is still in the early 90s with Tales of a Thousand Lakes. But this one here, especially with the collaborations with Anneke van Giersbergen from The Gathering and from Voer, our band right now. It just makes it as another very good record. So my number 2, number dos, as we say, Queen of Time by Amorphous.
All right, Hannah, you're number 2.
Meine Nummer 2, my number 2 has already been mentioned by Artur in his honorable mentions list. It's Tribulations Down Below. I love Tribulation. I love the way their music is progressing. Although I'm sometimes a bit torn between their previous records and this one because it's so much more gothic in a way, but it's still catchy. I love the death metal vocals on there, and the songwriting just keeps evolving, and it's still on a high level. And like Wada, I can't wait to see them live again next year, and to hear the songs live. I love The World, I love The Lament. I think these two are the favorite songs of this record. But all in all, just a masterpiece of music, and I can't wait what these guys are up to in the next years.
All right, Ricky, you're number 2.
Well, number 2 has already been mentioned. Behemoth, I Love You Dark. This was the album that I thought Hannah was going to have an after number 3. I don't know why. That's the one I thought. But, I mean, what more can I say? Besides, there's one song I didn't like from that album. If Crucifixion wasn't enough, that's the only song I didn't like from that album. The rest of it is fine. But it will never top the Satanists. Nothing will. It will never top the Satanists.
They'd have to do something really drastic if they're going to be able to top the Satanists.
I mean, nothing can top a Father of Satanist song. There's no chance in hell that they can top that. Unless they do like a 10-30 minute masterpiece, then maybe.
Highly unlikely.
I know.
Yeah.
I doubt it too, but Behemoth, I Love Your Darkest, my number 2.
And now time for the crown jewel for each of us, the number 1. And Ricky, I will let you begin.
Process of elimination, you can kind of figure which album is my number 1. Artur mentioned it, Levi mentioned it. One of my favorite bands of all time, Firepower, Judas Priest. And this is the one album that I want to say combines Painkiller and Defenders of the Faith into one. Their best album since Nostradamus, even though a lot of people hate Nostradamus. I love Nostradamus again. Redeemer of Souls was a great album, but I think it kind of lacked a bit of the Priest feeling. With this one, it just goes right into it with Firepower, which is like a 2.0 Painkiller, and then Lightning Strike, Guardians, Never the Heroes is probably my favorite of the track of the album. It's just a great album. I love Firepower. Priest is one of my favorite bands of all time. And if Priest didn't release that album, Behemoth would have been my number 1. Since Priest released this one, my number 1.
Yeah, and the one thing I forgot to mention is I love the production on this album. After all, I think Andy Sneap has pretty much become my favorite modern-day producer in metal. After all, he produced my album of the year in 2014, which was Accept's Blind Rage. So that adds a bonus to it.
I'm not saying that he's a great producer, but as a Dr. Frankenstein, as reviving all of these bands and making them a whole lot better than they are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just look at his track record. Except Judas Priest. Megadeth.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And he also did co-producing stuff with Surgical Steel with Colin Richardson, too. Alright, Artur, you're number 1, and I think we all know what it is. Right there.
I mean, we already said very, very much. And as I said when I reviewed this album for my zine, this possibly might be the last album that this this lineup of Judas Priest has done it. Alfred's still strong in his voice, and I know sometimes that people do give a lot of shit to Angel of Retribution, Nostradamus, and such. Although I enjoyed those albums more than maybe I enjoyed a bit Redeemer of Souls, but best launch I think since Painkiller, absolutely. Although I'm a big Ripper Owens era, which this album, especially with Spectre and even Flamethrower, it has a lot of influences from that era that supposedly they wanna delete, so to say, that old Ripper Owens era. But yeah.
I felt the same way with that song "No Surrender." I thought it kind of reminded me of a song from Demolition.
Exactly, but I mean, it's Firepower. It has probably one of the best songs in the era. As you said, Rising from Ruins with the Guardians intro. Although a bit slow, but it's all that vibe. It's everything. It's the song
epic.
from.
Yeah.
So, number one, Firepower by Judas Priest.
All right, Hannah, you're number one.
Surprise, surprise, my number one isn't Judas Priest. The thing is, I like Judas Priest, just to talk about that record, but it's not my favorite kind of music, and if 2018 wouldn't have been as strong as it was, it probably would be somewhere on my number 10, top 10, but it's just not the music I'm listening to most of the time.
That's okay.
I mean, my heart is black. I listen to a lot of black metal, and that's why my number one has to be black metal. Ever since it came out in April, I've been listening to this double record, Panopticon's The Scars of Man on the Once Nameless Wilderness, Part 1 and 2. And I just dig this combination of black metal and American country folk music, or whatever you might call it. I really like the first part of this record, which is pure black metal. Very melodic, but very pure, a bit like Windier and stuff like that. But then there is the second part of this record, which consists of only Americana, and that's what I really, really dig about this record. I'm not the biggest fan of American Western or folk music, but I really dig this kind of melancholy version of it, and I really think that Austin Lunn is an amazing songwriter, and this record has been captivating me ever since it came out. I listen to it all of the time, and for me this is the greatest piece of music that has been released this year. It's simply divine for me, at least from my point of view. And the stuff I'm waiting for ever since Kentucky was released in 2012.
Yeah, so I kind of had a suspicion that I figured Panopticon would have been on your list, Hannah. But,
And it is. And it's even number one.
Yeah.
All right, now,
What's the
and now for my finale. This will probably come as no surprise to everyone here, and also even the people on Twitter probably know, because I've said it so many times this year. And this is the only album I've bought from this year, and that's At the Gates, To Drink from the Night Itself. Well, I will agree, production, maybe not the best, even though they used Russ Russell, who did Napalm Death and Evil. I understand they were trying to go for a more raw approach, which I appreciate. However, the standard they set with Slaughter of the Soul and then At War with Reality, you kind of expected a well-produced album, which we didn't get here, but I don't mind the production at all. I mean, catchy songs, very dark. At times, especially the song Daggers of Black Haze, which is my favorite song of the year, reminded me a bit of Dissection to an extent because of how dark and depressive it sounded. But a lot of that American thrash influence does come through on here, particularly Slayer. That's like probably their biggest influence, arguably. And granted, we don't have Anders Bjorler in the band anymore. Instead, we got Jonas Stahlhammer, who's been in other bands like The Crown, who I like. But he does a good job with his songwriting, so I'm hoping that if they come back with another album, hopefully they step it up, and I think they're capable of doing that. After all, they're one of the godfathers of the melodic death metal genre, along with Carcass. So,
melodic death metal genre, I don't think so. But the Swedish stuff, yeah, absolutely.
So, my number one at the gates. But now, before we go, we gotta talk about 2019 and what we're expecting to come out and what we're looking forward to the most. Now, of course, I have a list, not in front of me, but I do have a list of what's already confirmed that are notable, at least for me, but perhaps notable for a lot of other people. You got the first album I said that's coming out that's major in my eyes would be Legion of the Damned, which comes out like on the 4th, I believe, so that's going to be interesting for me to check out because I've never heard of Legion of the Damned. But as far as like big bands that already have confirmed albums, you got Overkill, Candlemass, Dream Theater, Rhapsody of Fire, Queensryche, not the Jeff Tate Queensryche because he's terrible now, the real Queensryche, Children of Bodom, Misery Index. One curious album I'm definitely looking forward to checking out just to see how this goes is, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but it's like Viltimus, which is a new supergroup that has David Vincent, formerly of Morbid Angel, Blasphemer, formerly of Mayhem, and Flo Monnier from Cryptopsy, all coming together for a supergroup, which I'm going to be curious to check out, because I got a feeling this could be like a technical blackened death metal album, which that sounds crazy, but that's what it could be, but I'm going to wait until it actually comes out in March. For those who love their core, Whitechapel, oh lordy. So that's another notable. But as far as like any other like underground stuff, Hecate Enthroned coming out with one. Swallow the Sun, I know Anna's really pumped about that.
Already pre-ordered that.
But I think the one common one a lot of us are looking forward to,
Rotting Christ.
Rotting Christ Heretics. Especially after how good Rituals was, which, like I said in my review of that album, all the way back in 2016, one of the two bands nowadays keeping that monotheist Celtic Frost sound alive in the modern age, because that's what it reminded me of so much. So, I'm looking forward to what they're going to do on Heretics.
Although Septic Flesh has also a great sound to it. But then again, they're both from the same... Not only from the same
Greece,
land, from Greece, but they also have a bit the same background. So,
yeah.
If you like, I keep saying all the time, it's not the same thing, but if you like Rotting Christ, you absolutely will like Septic Flesh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other bands that are expected to have albums come out in 2019.
Rammstein.
That we don't have a confirmed release date just yet. But yeah, Rammstein's come up.
They have to release something before they go on in tour in late May. So yeah. I think they will probably release something in April.
That's what I heard. Something in April, but I think, I don't know why, since they're going to go to Mexico later next week. I don't know why they're going to have...
Yeah, for New Year's Eve.
They're going to play a new song.
Probably.
They're going to play something
probably.
New.
Oh boy. Now I'm seeing a bit some of them more. You said Whitechapel. There's another band on that same vibe as Whitechapel that they're going to release a new album. Bring Me the Horizon.
Yeah. I also forgot to mention Born of Osiris. They got one coming out in a few weeks.
I'm seeing a bit some of the confirmed releases, and yeah, Hannah will not like this at all, because on the same day that Heretics comes out from Rotting Christ,
I know what you're saying.
It comes out to Avantasia's Moonglow.
Yep.
No! No! Not again!
And I'm gonna check that album out, and if I like it, I'm gonna like it. I did like Ghost Lights, but it wasn't my favorite album of 2016.
I'll be more busy reviewing Rotting Christ than Avantasia. Although my dad is a huge Avantasia fan, I'm gonna
review both albums anyway.
But
I will only review the Rotting Christ one.
But
yeah, supposedly, as I'm seeing right now, the current incarnation of possibly one of my favorite power metal bands of all time, Rhapsody of Fire, will release The Eighth Mountain. Mm-hmm. Also, Hammerfall will release a new album as well
in August.
Yeah, and Whitesnake supposedly is going to release another one.
Whitesnake?
Yeah,
oh, shit.
Flesh and Bloods. But Devin Townsend, I think I'm seeing. Yeah,
I think we should be expecting Devin Townsend this year or 2019. But like other bands that are either currently working on albums or are finished but just waiting to get release date, Megadeth and possibly Anthrax. I'm praying and hoping for Napalm Death, Cattle Decapitation, Nile. Other ones that are expected because of how they put out albums every couple of years.
Supposedly Moonspell are currently working on one, but I don't believe that they are going to release one next year. I mean, they just released last year 1755, which was a huge success. So we'll see.
I'm gonna make one bold prediction. Next year,
yes.
AC/DC. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's my bold prediction. AC/DC.
What?
He said AC/DC. I don't know. That's kind of stretching it, if you ask me.
Far-fetched.
I think, but like others,
that's a bit going too far. But
well, I know, because if it does, I'm gonna go back to this episode and say, "I told you so,"
and say he's lagging.
I heard he said that if they come out, he said something like, "I told you so" about something.
Yeah. I don't really care.
But we'll see.
But like other ones that I can think of right now, Exodus. One I'm really looking forward to is Testament, because I've loved their last 3 albums. I hope this comeback run continues with another stellar album. This will make our new pal Kamikaze Games happy. Possibly new Fear Factory, which I would like to hear. But, oh yeah. But I think the one big one they're in the studio right now, hoping it comes out by the fall, that I think we're all looking forward to mutually, Carcass.
Maybe.
Depends on how good it is.
I mean, I don't think they can top Surgical Steel. I think they can come close.
I may be more excited, but I don't know if they're going to release a new album, but I may be more excited if Demons and Wizards releases a new album.
And I forgot I forgot more like big ones that are more in the mainstream sense. Opeth possibly getting one this year. Then a couple other bands I kind of figured they're going to have albums out either because of what they've said or just Sabaton, how I noticed.
Maybe.
Yes, Sabaton, and also because of how I notice whenever they release albums like every 2-3 years, and we're getting to that point. Avenged Sevenfold. No, I don't think.
No, they said they will release their next album in 2020.
I figured it would be another year, but for me, like Avenged Sevenfold, I'm really looking forward to because I want to hear where they're going next. A couple other ones, Black Dahlia Murder, I would probably expect one to come out this year, considering they put out every 2 years. Trivium, I'm hoping, is if they put out a new one, it's better than Sin in the Sentence, even though that was a really good return to form, so to speak. I'm curious to hear where they're going next, but there's just going to be something. I forgot to mention Flotsam and Jetsams coming out in January. I forgot to mention them.
Then I'm sorry to rain in on your party, but I hated Flotsam and Jetsam. I saw them live with on the tour that they were going to do. It was Brazilian thrash band Nervosa with Enforcer, Flotsam and Jetsam, and the headliners, motherfucking Destruction. Let's just say that out of those 4, Flotsam and Jetsam was the worst of all of them. Because you had the power of Nervosa, with a bit the power and melody of Enforcer. Flotsam and Jetsam just downed pace, down tune everything, and then it just kicked it up with Destruction. I said after that show that they could remove Flotsam and Jetsam out of that. Just keep it Nervosa, Enforcer, and Destruction.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention a couple other big ones too. Dream Theater's got one in February.
Like I said, Armored Saint, I'm a bit curious for it.
Yeah. And of course, Ricky kind of muttered it a little bit. Slipknot. I heard the single. Wasn't terrible, but I was expecting more. But then again, Slipknot is Slipknot.
Speaking of Slipknot, they're starting to announce some major shows here in my country. One of them is going to be a stadium show, which has already 3 bands as the headliner. I don't think 2 of them may be headliners. They already have Slipknot confirmed, Slayer, possibly their final tour, and Lamb of God. Out of those 3, I'm only interested in Slayer, not anyone else. But on that other festival that I usually go on August, in Vagos, they already have confirmed Stratovarius, they already have confirmed Napalm Death, Hailstorm, Cheer, Candlemass, which I'm going to remove that out of the bucket list, Death Angel, Primal Fear. They've already put on some huge names. So even next year is going to be a huge year in terms of shows as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I was also going to mention a few like personal ones that I'm hoping to see come out in 2019, even though there's really no information on, but I'm hoping. Broken Hope, Asphyx, one that I think Hannah will appreciate, Borknagar. I would love to hear a new Borknagar album
Then they
in
got-
2019.
they are currently in the studio.
Oh, thank God.
And they've got a new drummer. They've got a new drummer, Bart Kolstad, left because he wanted to concentrate more on Leprous.
And if they continue to work with Rick from Over, then absolutely it will be. It will be.
I loved Winter Thrice when it came out. That was my number 2 in 2016.
Yeah, I will see them at Grasspop
It was my number 5.
Yeah, other ones I hope. For me, the big ones that I'm hoping for a new Witherscape album because I love me some Dan Swano in my life. I want to hear a new Witherscape come out because that was my number 1 from 2016, the Northern Sanctuary. Other ones I hope to hear. I was going to say other ones I would hope to hear. Mayhem. I would love to see if Mayhem puts out one in 2019.
I don't know. One that I'm hoping. We forgot one. I don't know if it has already been released or not. But Venom. Venom has already.
I think that.
I know, Hannah. I know. But Venom has released a new one. I don't know if it has released right now or it has already been released.
It has been.
But I hope that I love Venom Inc.'s Ave so much that I hope that if Venom are doing as well as they are, which is just Cronus, Dante, and the other Bray, why not Abaddon, Manthus, and the vocalist on the Primeval show do as good? I mean, Venom Inc. I'm a bit. I can say that I'm a bit curious for Venom Inc. since I love Ave very much. And I'm seeing here, although Wikipedia is as reliable as it is, but Septic Flesh releasing a new album next year? I don't think so, because Codex Omega, my 2017 album of the year, it's still very recent in people's memories, and they're still touring that very same album. So, Septic Flesh, 2020, absolutely. This year, not so.
Well, I personally haven't looked too much into 2019. I'm very excited about Rotting Cries, as we mentioned before. And I think Megwa will release a new record because they're going back on tour next year. I think somewhere in May. And I think they will release new material. And I'm very excited what's to come. And then today, Bartushka released a teaser of their new record, and it already sounds amazing, and I can't wait for the follow-up to Liturgia, which was my 2015 record of the year, and they're one of my favorite live bands, and I can't wait what they have in store for us. Probably nothing but pure amazing stuff. So that's what I'm mostly excited about, and of course Rammstein, because I'm German. What's not to love about Rammstein? With a bit of fire.
Supposedly the Scorpions are going to release as well.
But they don't have as much fire as Rammstein. And I will see Rammstein next year in May with my mother, because she loves Till Lindemann so much.
My father was also wants one day to see Rammstein with me. He already saw Iron Maiden with me. He saw Nightwish with me. So next is Rammstein.
Yeah. But of course, the big one everyone talks about every year until it actually comes out, Tool. Just put it out already.
Yeah.
Who cares about Tour? Nobody does.
Thank you. Vielen Dank. Vielen Dank.
Bitteschön.
But there's gonna be so much good stuff coming out in 2019. I can't wait.
But not Tour.
Supposedly they're going to come out because in May they have already a show here in my city in Lisbon, and it's already sold out.
Yeah, same with Berlin, but
I'm going a bit
Tool,
like this.
why have you done this? Tool, why have you done this? You've poisoned people, and now no one gives a shit if a new album comes out or not.
The problem,
even if it sounds good, I don't think anyone's gonna care.
The problem is just one: hype. The last time an album took this long to do, we had Chinese Democracy, and it was shit.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. I figured that joke was coming in, so there you go. But bottom line is, 2019 should be another great year, and like I said, I'm going to commit myself to listening to more, checking out more, and hopefully my list will be better than what I had this year because it was on such short notice. So there you go. So without further ado, that does it for the Horsemen Podcast Episode 6. Episode 7, we were possibly going to do an episode on our top 10 bands from our state or country or surrounding areas, in my case.
So hard.
So, I mean, for me, it's harder because there's not many bands from Ohio. So we came up with the idea that I would do surrounding states.
But I got a lot of bands.
More bands in Texas than in Ohio. And
so
I do have a lot of them here in my country, although the problem with many of mine, while some of them maybe in Ohio, in Germany, upset, but in Ohio and Texas, some of them have got some level of notoriety. In Portugal, only one has managed to get some notoriety, or in this case, you all know it, and I'm not going to spoil that because it's already known. But we'll give a shout out to our local scenes. They deserve as much as the mainstream.
Yeah, so that will be episode 7. Episode 8, I kind of come up with a topic we could do for episode 8. We done underrated, overrated bands, but I want to go back to the underrated side. Underrated metal albums of all time for episode number 8. That will be, I already got my list made, but it was tough to put together, but I know for everyone else it's probably going to be even harder. So that will be a really good one to give some love to albums that are somewhat known or influential, but yet haven't gotten as much love. Or no love at all, in some cases. So that's our future plans as far as when those episodes are going to happen. When everyone's available, like always. And thank you guys who are watching this via the live premiere, or if you're watching the archive after it was already streamed. Thank you for watching regardless. But until then, we're out of here.